Hello and welcome to Analyst Weathercast Tropical Weather Update. I'm forecaster Andrew Fleck, and today we have a few goodies to show. A forecast map for Tropical Storm Emily currently in the Caribbean, and actually a few other maps as well. But before I do that, I do want to show you the current forecast that we still are polling for and forecasting for the 2011 Atlantic hurricane season. Still our forecast of 16 tropical storms we're still looking forward to. Hurricanes 9 and major hurricanes 4. Looking at a few of those names below that, we have Arlene, Dawn, Brett, Cindy, and Emily that is occurring now. That's a total of 5 tropical storms at this current time. That means 10 more storms yet to at least get to an 80 to 90 percentage of our tropical forecast. Of course, hurricanes, that right now we have not had much of. All of these storms have been either tropical depressions or tropical storms, but I do believe toward the middle to the end of the hurricane season, those hurricanes are going to start becoming more likely to be seen, and of course, what those hurricanes produce decides if they're major or not. But we're still looking at a valid hurricane season forecast at this time. Now, speaking of Emily, we'll show you that Emily here on the satellite imagery is positioned just southeast of Haiti, and that's going to continue to move to the northwest. And for the past 24 hours it was stalling. Not much intensity was going up. There were a few forecasts expected for it to go to 60-65 miles per hour. That still has not happened. It's still sitting at 50 miles per hour. Again, the past 24 hours it's been stuck, just stalled out, but it's beginning to finally get its move on. It was once going west-northwest, now moving northwest. And again, that system right there, Emily, is sitting just south of Haiti, but it's going to be bringing a lot of rain with it, a lot of thunderstorms, and that's going to be expected as it continues to move off to the northwest as it captures that trough, and I'll explain a little bit more of that. Now, what the National Hurricane Center is forecasting for Emily is, again, to position itself through Haiti, up just skirting off the East Cuban area, and then of course into the Bahamas, or the western Bahamas, and still very, very close to Florida. I don't think we're going to leave that out of the question quite yet, but they then eventually have it curving out to sea toward Bermuda by about early next week. What I do want to point out here is, though, the position, yes, the storm is going to move through the Caribbean, but still very close to Florida. And although it might be or might not be a landfall for Florida, I still want to give interest that a storm that's offshore, okay, and a big storm with a big considerable amount of size can still give out twirling winds if it's 100 miles offshore of tropical storm force. It does not necessarily mean that you need a landfall to get those wind gusts pulling. You could have a storm just sitting offshore that close to where the National Hurricane Center has it and still forcing almost tropical storm wind gusts. So, if you have any loose furniture out there, maybe you want to tie it down, keep things closer to your property, that would be a smart idea as Emily moves toward the northwest in the upcoming next few days. Now, looking at the wind and streamlines, we can show you that, again, Emily is sitting down by Haiti right now, and again, that system is going to move more to the northwest now. And you can very well see there's two high pressures, two blocks on either side of Emily, one sitting over the central and southern part of the United States, and there's just a bit of a gap that Emily's going to crawl into. Again, through the Bahamas, very close to Florida. I still want to keep Florida out of the question, but what's going to happen is it's going to catch this trough, and what that's going to do is send Emily then eventually out to sea, and that's what the National Hurricane Center is thinking. I think that's what a general consensus of what everybody's thinking right now. I think the biggest deal right now and concerning with Emily is why the intensity has not gone up. Still sitting at 50 miles per hour. that's something that we're going to have to monitor. But we do think that maybe the intensity begins to rush through as it begins to get its move on. Again, it was stalling for the past 24 hours, but as it begins moving again, maybe the intensity heats up. Maybe Emily starts to organize again, and that looks more of a possibility. But again, we're going to have to watch. We're going to have to see where Emily goes, and again, Florida, keep your fingers crossed. Whether it's a landfall, whether it's not, again, it can still give you tropical storm force wind gusts, and that's just as much as a landfall itself. So that would be the concern area. Last but not least, I'm going to show you the 500 millibar anomalies. This is quite interesting to me. You can definitely see that the darker blues are the lower pressures, and you can very much see that it's indicating where Emily is going to be heading toward the next few days. When I speak of that, I'll show you that, here's the imagery within the next 24 hours, sitting right about here. And what's eventually going to happen is 48 hours to about 60 hours later, she's going to be hovering over here. So just continuing that northwest pattern very close to Florida. Now, what I'm thinking here is it's very interesting how you have lower pressures when she's over the Bahamas, but starts to lose pressure as she heads toward closer to Florida and away from the Bahamas. There's some debate to whether the 500 mil anomalies are forecasting or picking up on that because she runs into Florida and weakens a little bit, or maybe the storm itself weakens without even running into Florida. Those are two things that we're going to be watching very closely. Now, the National Hurricane Center is forecasting this to be a hurricane as it turns to the northeast and out to sea, but we need to take things one step at a time. And that's what we're going to do here at A&L's Weathercast, and I hope of what other forecasters do forecasting Emily as well. So, as for now, this has been a tropical weather update concerning Tropical Storm Emily. More will be further on later tonight and up in the upcoming days. Have a good one.